my opinion, the young generation of white, black, brown, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution.
What is it revolting against? The power structure. The American power structure? No. The French power structure? No. The English power structure? No. Then what power structure? An international Western power structure.
And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. And there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods.
So what you and I have got to do is get involved. You and I have to be right there breathing down their throat. Every time they look over their shoulder, we want them to see us.
Once those intentions are made known, we can get to the nitty-gritty of the problem. We can get to the core of the problem. We can get to the root of the problem. And then we can correct the problem.
I represent a film company called pienmashfilms, and
right.
I investigate young offenders institutions, child abuse, etc. And I'm just walking along here today.
I was across us by chance?
Yeah, just by chance.
Right.
I'm not chasing you. I've got a press pass, but I'm not chasing you. We don't want a police state. That is what we don't want, Ken. And you know that, mate.
I think
and
we're a long way off that.
Well, you think we're a long way off of a police state? Well, I really don't.
When I got elected 10 years ago, we only had 25,000.
That was 10 years ago. I was in Shirley Oaks. You know about Shirley Oaks, don't you? You know about Shirley Oaks.
We used to
You know
run it
about
from
Shirley
Lambeth
Oaks.
Council.
You know about Shirley Oaks.
We got it up to 32,000.
Yeah.
Crime's been cut.
Ken, you know about Shirley Oaks. You know about Shirley Oaks, didn't you? Shirley Oaks was levelled. You gave a sanction for that. All my siblings were abused, including myself, in Shirley Oaks. So now, are you speaking for the youth? Are you speaking for the youth here?
Well, according
because
to
that's who I'm
yes,
speaking
basically.
to. Well, I'd like to see you get involved a bit more in the youth and go to the streets. It's all very well talking to police officers and being guided around, Ken, by people, but if you go onto our website, pienmashfilms.com, you'll see that we do it as I'm doing it now.
Good advert there. We will go
of course it's an advert because I just told you I am fighting against child abuse, especially institutions.
But you're happy we demolished Shirley Oaks?
Well, Shirley Oaks should have been investigated. I think it should have been excavated, and we should have had a look. The same as we did about Hope de la Garenne. We've got a place up in Darlington called St Peter's as well. So I think it should have been investigated a lot more, and I think the perpetrators who are still alive, the perpetrators of all this abuse, because can I just say to you, yeah, madam, but can I just say to you, the reason I'm talking about institutional abuse is because 90% of all children in our institutions are from these kind of areas, and in a young trainer, Ken, I'm just going to educate you.
If you want to catch the perpetrators, you need to give us the names.
But this is really important. Now the point is that 90% of all young offenders that go into these institutions that are run by private companies like Serco, one child can demand £200,000 a year just to keep a child, and they're being abused and they're using unlawful restraining techniques.
But we're not going to sort it here on the pavement.
Unlawful, yeah, brother. That's how you talk to the people, Ken. Do you know about Adam Rickwood? I investigate. Adam Rickwood was found hanging in himself. It's very good. I'll get in touch with you on email, and I'll never see you again.
Mr. Stubbs, hello?
And you're going to talk to me, Ken?
No, you've got to tell me what you want me to do.
Right.
I mean, I agree with you. Child abuse is horrendous.
Exactly.
It's endemic in all the child
but I'm talking about the institutional child abuse, Ken, and the unlawful restraints that are being used. Adam Rickwood was restrained with nose distraction and then the double-seated embrace.
I saw all the stuff about Serco, all your complaints about it.
Well, why can't you do something about it?
Well, I'm not in any office.
You're not in any office. So what are you doing on the street? Same
I'm
as
trying
me.
to get in any office.
Well, what do you want me to do to help you?
I want you to tell me what you want me to do.
I
Give
want
me the information you've got.
you to attack institutional child abuse. I want you to attack.
I vetoed the appointment of a paedophile to the file.
And I want you to sort out why children. 99.9% of all children in our institutional cares, our young offenders, are from the lower classes.
I know that.
Yeah, but do you know that Serco's getting £200,000 per year per child?
Serco, I think it's disgraceful what they're doing. But what you've got to do is tell me what you want me to do.
I've just
but
told
bear
you.
in mind this.
Yeah.
The mayor has no responsibility for childcare. It's a borough and a government.
Well, that's outrageous.
Well, I agree, but
That's outrageous because our children. You're talking to police officers. You know what I mean?
Send me what you want.
I've given you my card.
But you remember, Ken, you're here to talk to people on the street. I am a person on the street,
you are.
and down there you walked away because I am asking questions that you don't or can't answer.
I know, and you're doing great promoting yourself and your family.
No, I'm promoting.
And I'm here to talk to a lot of people, not just you.
I'm promoting child abuse activists.
And if you want me to
I'm promoting. I do what you say. I don't want you to walk away. Stand and talk to me because I'm not going to get a chance to talk to you again.
No, and
don't touch me. You're assaulting me. It's a common assault.
Yeah, and you're very good at this. You'll look great on your website.
Thank you very much.
If you want me to do something.
Ken said I'm very good at this and I'm going to look great on the website, people. So that's the.
If you want me to deal with it, you need to send me stuff in writing. I can take it up.
It's always got to be in writing, not the spoken word.
No,
you can't talk to me.
There's no
I'll buy
value
you
in
a
a
coffee.
court of law whatsoever.
Do you want to? I don't want to go into the court of
think.
law just yet. I just want to talk to you.
No, you send it.
Do you want a cup of coffee?
No, I don't want a cup of coffee.
Why did you level without investigating the excavation of Shirley Oaks? Because we believe there were children buried there.
That's fine, but no one raised it at the time.
Do you believe children were buried in Shirley Oaks?
That's what I know.
How would you know? You're the one who ordered it to be levelled.
Yes, because we were building housing on it. No one ever came to us with any complaints about it.
So not one person in the government said all the abuse that went on in Shirley Oaks, which includes 7 of my siblings, and my sister is now dead. You did not say that any children were buried in Shirley Oaks, like Hope de la Garant on the island of Jersey.
At the time we were demolishing it, we'd had no allegations of child abuse that I'd heard of.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get the other side. Okay. Harriet, right, if I can just give you 1 minute. We're talking about child abuse. We'd just like to talk to you about the cuts and how it's going to affect child abuse. Harriet, you don't want to talk about child abuse. I understand that, Harriet, but you're here to talk to people on the street, and we represent... So Harriet Harman doesn't want to talk to us about child abuse today.
She didn't say that.
Okay, at the moment she doesn't.
She didn't say
well, that's what he said to me. I gave her a chance. Mind your own business. Harriet. That's common assault. You'll get arrested for that.
I'm a woman.
I know it's a woman's right. Harriet, get on me. Harriet, I need to push you on this. Harriet, why won't you talk to us about child abuse, Harriet? You're part of the government. Don't touch me because don't you just touch me. Right, so Harriet is not willing to talk about child abuse. And how are the cuts going to affect child abuse? How are the cuts going to affect child abuse, Harriet? Harriet, how are the cuts going to affect child abuse, Harriet?
I'm very sorry, she's talking to people who've come here for
so Harriet's gone to the police officer here, and we do carry a press pass, and Harriet Harman does not today wish to talk to us about child abuse. She didn't want to talk to us about child abuse, and I think I know why. In 1978, when she became a solicitor, she urged the ministers to make it legal for people to be allowed to take sexually explicit images of children. And she wanted that to be made legal as long as the children in the images hadn't been harmed or abused.
It seems frankly astonishing now that there ever was an organisation called the Paedophile Information Exchange, but its history has certainly come back to haunt the Labour Party deputy leader. Do you think the organisation's nastiness might have been exaggerated? Well, listen to this from a man who campaigned in the 1980s to try and have it banned.
Over a period of years I collected their literature. For instance, in this particular magazine it says that if a child has not had a sexual experience by the age of 4, then it is too late. They're despicable people.
The trouble is that this organisation managed to affiliate itself with the National Council for Civil Liberties, which Harriet Harman went on to work for. The NCCL had a pretty loose policy on affiliation, to say the least, with more than 1,000 organisations attached. But the Daily Mail, which has been running these stories, feels Miss Harman should still apologise for the link.
It was a horrible organisation. It was campaigning to lower the age of consent to 10. It was also talking about legalising incest. How could you possibly have worked for this organisation that had this link? Surely it is time to apologise for that precise fact, as indeed the current leader of Liberty has done.
Well, I've said it was regrettable that they
But
ever existed.
that's not the same as an apology,
well,
that
yes,
was it.
but it's not my responsibility.
It's Bill Maloney, and I represent a film company called pienmashfilms, and we're interested in what the cuts are going to do against child abuse and young offenders institutions.
Hey mate, it's very important.
I'll talk to Ed, not you. You're here to talk to people.
I'm just on the BBC.
Ed, I represent the lower working classes, and I'd like to know what you're going to do, and what your government. Let that girl alone. I want to know what you're going to do to help child abuse. And you've been talking about this before. What are you going to do about child abuse in our young offenders institutes? Bill, yeah, so you don't want to talk about it. Well, talk to me about it. Let go. Let go. What are you going to do about institutional child abuse operating in this country? What are you going to do about institutional paedophile rings that are operating in this country now? What are you going to do about institutional paedophile rings that are operating in this country now? Now!
Angry scenes there. What's your initial response to
the gentleman there was worried about what's happening with child abuse, and he's worried about cuts to children's services. People get angry and emotional. There's going to be some emotion here today, of course there is. It's a very important march. There are mums and dads and doctors and nurses, teachers, parents all across the country who are worried because, look, people know we've got to get the deficit down. We've got to have some tough decisions, but to do things this far and this fast, to do something which is destabilising communities, pushing unemployment up, people are worried about that. And I think what we're going to see today is lots of people saying to George Osborne and the government, look, do think again. Don't do things in a reckless way. Let's not go back to the division of the 1980s. We want a strong, unified community. And there'll be people here from the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrat Party, from the Conservative Party, all parties who are worried about what's happening with the cuts.
It's called the March for the Alternative, but isn't that the greatest irony here, that actually there isn't an alternative, and certainly not a clear alternative that's been put forward by the Labour Party?
evidence file used to convict paedophile Peter Wrighton, if it still exists, contains clear intelligence of a widespread paedophile ring. One of its members boasts of his links to a senior aide of a former Prime Minister, who says he could smuggle indecent images of children from abroad. The leads were not followed up, but if the files still exist, I want to ensure that the Metropolitan Police secure the evidence, re-examine it, and investigate clear intelligence suggesting a powerful paedophile network linked to Parliament and Number 10.
Well, the honourable gentleman raises a very difficult and complex case, and I'm not entirely sure which former Prime Minister he's referring to, but what I would like to do is look very carefully in Hansard as to the allegations that he's made, the case that he's raised, and look very carefully and see what the government can do to help give him the assurances that...
Keith Gregory of the Masons, an avenue that needs to be investigated?
Masons definitely need to be investigated, especially in North Wales. I think nearly everyone, especially on the list that I have, are all members of some sort of Masonic lodge.
Year-old children to Peter Swinfield's Night Club, and I've got a witness called Ben Fellows, who's now, his life is now under threat, and he's having to leave the country because of people like Max Clifford. These people are worried about getting shot. Ben Fellows, why were you sending children to Peter Stringfellow's club? 13-year-olds. 13-year-olds, Max. Ben Fellows.
Right, we need to get into the court, gentlemen. Take a big step back. Step back. Step back. Max. Okay. Max, why were you supplying children at Stringfellow? Why were you supplying children to Peter Stringfellow? Are you not quite the bullshit? I know Ben Fellows. Come on then. Stand back!
Move along, please. Move along, please. Move along, please. Move along, please.
King and Simon.
Move along, please.
Ben Fellows, Max. We've got you. And I represent the victims, Max. My name's Ben.
Come on, gentlemen. Move along, please. Move along, gentlemen.
Charlie Nash. Do you know Charlie Nash?
Move along, please.
Remember Charlie Nash? I'm not close to me. You just assaulted me.
Move along. This way, please. Thank you. The back, guys, give the man some room. Give the man some room.
Max, we penned Max because you're done.
Guys, stand on my side. Let's get a picture. Max,
supplying children.
You were supplying children. Peter Swinfield's. Ben Fellows, 13-year-olds. Every second week for over a year, Max. My name's Bill Maloney. Look at these eyes, Max, because I'm ready to get you some.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Back! You assault me again and I'll arrest you, do you understand?
I understand.
Get back!
What does this feel like today?
Aware of a paedophile ring that was operating around Jonathan King. Was you and Simon Cowell aware?
Max, can we get a picture back here?
Move on, please.
You've got to come further away.
Put the microphone away. Move along, please. Move along, please, ladies and gentlemen. Move along, please.
Thank you, Max. Thanks, Max. Right, let's sit down.
Why are you supplying What? Peter Stringfellow's nightclub. 13-year-olds. 13-year-olds. You were supplying 13-year-old children.
Let a man through.
Peter Stringfellows. Ben Fellows is a witness, and so is Charlie Nash. Yeah, you pretended to represent them and get their stories in the paper. Didn't you, Max?
Off you go now.
Did you get it all? Did you get it all?
I was fucking right in there.
Get me asking the question. Okay, so he didn't want to answer the question. I was asking him the question, why was he supplying children to Peter Stringfellow on a regular basis, 13-year-olds, boys and girls. As soon as they got into Stringfellows, they were allowed to have cocaine, anything they wanted. And the main victim here is Ben Fellows, and Ben Fellows is in fear of his life and has had to leave this country because of Max Clifford and his paedophile rings, and he knows. Hello.
Hi. Can I take word with you?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
Pop out with. Come out for a second. Cheers. Right. There we go. Pop out for a second, sir. Pop out. Oh God. You're right, Kate. Max! Alright, so. Excuse me, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Max, Ben Fellows and Charlie Nash want to talk to you. Yes, Max, Ben Fellows, why were you allowing children to be taken to Peter Stringfellow? Yes, Max, Peter Stringfellow, 13-year-olds, Max. Look into my eyes, Max. You know me, Max, because I know you. You, Max, know all about a massive paedophile ring that has been operating in this country. Max, look at me and answer the question.
Get back! Get back! Don't push me forward, stay back.
Mr. Clifford, just up here, please.
Answer the question. Why were you sending, why did you send Ben Fellows? Ben Fellows was 13 years of age when you sent Ben Fellows to Peter Stringfellow and gave him cocaine at 13 years of age. Oh, good one. You're a bad actor, Max. You're going to pay for what you've done, Max. We don't care how old you are. You are a criminal of the worst degree, Max Clifford. And my name is Bill Maloney, and I am coming to get all you paedophile rings, institutional paedophile rings, operating in this country now. Max Clifford, paedophile ring. Max Clifford, Ben Fellows, Charlie Nash. Charlie wants to talk to you. Oh, Charlie makes you smile. Charlie makes you smile, doesn't he, Max? He's not making you smile now. You gave Charlie Nash £6,000 cash. Yeah. Oi, Max. See you soon. Max
is here.
Max Clifford. Ben Fellows has had his life threatened because of you.
Right, step back. G-team.
Got it. Hello, darling. Yeah. We got him, and he can't get away because he's aware of the biggest paedophile ring operating in this country. And we're talking about politicians, we're talking about MI5, we're talking about MI6, and we're talking about paedophilia being used to control world politics via blackmail. documentary filmmaker for pienmashfilms.com, and I represent hundreds of thousands of victims of abuse, of institutional abuse, and institutional paedophile rings that have been and are still operating in this country now.
What's your name again, sir?
Bill Maloney.
What are you alleging?
I'm alleging, let's wait for this. I am alleging that Max Clifford was sending children, boys and girls from the age of 13 to Peter Stringfellow's clubs. To Peter Stringfellow's club, where they were supplied with cocaine, alcohol, and if necessary, Viagra. Because I know this because a guy called Ben Fellows, who was a child actor, has come forward. Ben Fellows, his life is now under threat and he has had to leave this country. Ben Fellows has done many interviews with the national press and with detectives from the Metropolitan Police Squad. And his life is under threat and the police are not protecting Ben Fellows. And if anything happens to Ben Fellows, it is due to the establishment of this country. Can I just say this? We're talking about paedophilia, blackmailing paedophiles, high-profile paedophiles and controlling world politics. That is how this country has got... We have got to deal with this now. Now is the time to deal with it.
When are you saying these things happen?
When am I saying what things happen?
Like the allegations against Max Clifford and Peter Stringfellow. What era?
Listen, right from the 60s up, people don't realise how powerful Max Clifford is. Max Clifford represented people like Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra. Max Clifford's been around a very, very long time.
And Ben Fellows, what was...
Google Ben Fellows.
Don't forget Ken Clark, Phil.
Now, listen, let me just tell you, right? Ben Fellows, the Cook Report, done a film, right, with Ben Fellows.
I know he is, yeah.
Now, right, you know who he is, but the people don't. Now, Ben Fellows, when he was involved in the Cook Report, they wired him up, and they wired a briefcase up. He went into Parliament. What's the name of the guy?
Ken Clark.
And then Kenneth Clark grabbed his genitalia and held it. The Cook Report had the footage of this film that was made. That footage then went to David Cameron. David Cameron got rid and buried the footage of Ben Fellows being abused by Kenneth Clark.
That guy.
That's Ben Fellows. Now Kenneth, so you know, we're talking about
where
the politician.
is he? Why is he not here today?
Well, I can get in touch with Ben Fellows. If you get in touch with me, we'll get you interviews with Ben Fellows.
What's the best number to get you
There
on?
is also a guy called Charlie Nash who Max Clifford gave £6,000. Now, when Jonathan King was arrested, Max Clifford was good friends with Jonathan King, but Jonathan King had sent Simon Cowell to Max Clifford. Now, Max Clifford then fell out with Jonathan King. So Jonathan King went to prison. Max Clifford started trawling for victims so that he could get their stories into the national press.
Bill, sorry to interrupt. Can you give me a number where I can get hold of you?
Not while all this is running, I'm not going to. Who am I? Because I might as well give my phone number to the world then, and you're a journalist, so you should know that. So, you know, we're talking about a cover-up and a massive scale here, okay? So you lot sort it out. You know what's going on.
Obviously, he's not being charged with.
Listen, let me just tell you something, right? Now, I will in a minute. Jimmy Savile, right? Jimmy Savile wrote books Jimmy Savile wrote books that were supposed to protect children from paedophiles. That was his cover later on down the line. So he could say, I wrote books. I had books written to protect children from paedophilia. Max Clifford, when Jonathan King got arrested, Max Clifford started trawling for victims and getting their papers, their stories in the papers, into like the news of the world. Yeah, so now he can say, what are you talking about? I help victims. These are very, very clever people. These are not fools, and they were sorting out their alibis for later on down the line.
Why are you involved?
Because myself and my 7 siblings, we are victims of institutional paedophile rings that have been operating in this country. We were all we were all abused in care homes, in children's homes, in young offenders institutions, adoption, etc. I have a sister who was raped at the age of 11 and we now know had human papillomavirus. She had cervical cancer at the age of 11, my sister.
Do you have any particular evidence yourself against Max Clifford?
There's witnesses. We're talking about, with the term they like to use is historical abuse.
Yes.
You tell me where the evidence is, madam. But we do have the evidence that Max Clifford was sending children to parties at Peter Stringfellow's. Now, arrest me. Let them, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the police. Whoever wants to come and get me, come and get me. But they won't, because we have the moral higher ground here. We are victims and we know who raped us.
Why are you after Max Clifford particularly?
Have you not been listening? You're a journalist. Max Clifford is aware of a massive paedophile ring that has been operating in this country for a long time. And we're talking about politicians and we're talking about the entertainment industry, and they have always gelled so well.
Is it tied up with the Elm House and all that?
It is tied up with Elm House as well. And I've been working with a guy called Chris Fay.
Yes.
Chris Fay, when Carol Kazia, when she allegedly killed herself, which she never killed herself, this guy, Chris Fay, who was a councillor for Greenwich Council, 3 bullets came through his window. It took the police 1 hour to get there. It's never been divulged. You can get in touch with me.
You referred to evidence about Max Clifford.
Yes, that's what we want.
Peter
Yes.
Stringfellows.
Yes.
What is that
What is
evidence
it?
as far as you're concerned?
That evidence is Ben Fellows. Now, Ben Fellows has said to me that he is willing to take a lie detector test on his evidence. And let's see if Max Clifford will take a lie detector. No, let me stay with this. Let's see if Max Clifford will take a lie detector test. Because on the Jeremy Kyle show, or in this country and other countries, families are torn to shreds on the evidence of lie detector tests. The polygraph test is 98% accurate. Why won't they let us use it in a court of law as evidence?
Tell us, what was Ben Fellows
so chaotic?
Ben Fellows will tell you his story.
I just need to know, because it's been so chaotic,
Yes.
who you are, what your connection
I've
is
just
to
done it.
I know,
Yeah.
come on, we can do it to our camera, because it's been so chaotic.
Who are you?
Sky News.
You're Sky News.
Yes.
You have just edited out what we were shouting at Max Clifford. I just got a phone call from my producer saying that Sky News has just edited out what we was asking. Go away from me. Sky News, fuck off Sky News. Now we're getting the word out properly. We've done a good job today. It's all over. Finito. Max Clifford is fucked. Max, you're a fucking nonce, and I've got to.
What was that again, Bill?
I'm not saying it all again.
Oh, go on.
Stay.
The final celebrity to give evidence in the Max Clifford trial was Des O'Connor. The former chat show host came to court and told the jury that the celebrity publicist that he had known through the years had always acted with honesty and integrity. And then Rosina Cottage QC for the prosecution began her closing speech. This is the start of the final stages of this trial, and she reminded the jury of just how serious the sexual allegations are that Max Clifford faces, and the very big deal that it has been for the women who have come to court to give often very personal and very intimate details of their alleged experiences with Max Clifford. She said to the jury, they've not come to court to lie. You have seen what's gone on in this courtroom. You can tell who is lying. And she went on to say, it is not fun standing there being accused of being a fantasist or a liar. We also heard more evidence surrounding Max Clifford's intimate size details. And once again, Rosina Cottage QC said to the jury that it is not important the size, it is what he has done with it. Hi, Max.
Okay.
I'm fine, thank you. You okay?
Yeah.
We'll carry on, shall we?
You carry on.
Okay.
I've been told by my lawyers to say nothing at all.
Do you have anything to say to these women?
Time to say sorry, Mr. Clifford. Will you appeal that? Louise, do you have anything to say about the father?
Bill, you're a familiar face in the alternative media.
Yeah.
Tell the Community Press Group why you're here today.
Well, shall I tell you the truth? I was bored. I haven't got a clue what the Bradbury pound is, but whatever it is, they're going to mess with it. I was going to say with it, you know what I mean, but the old Bill's there. Whatever we have, they're going to mess with it. But I'm here, actually, for the lower classes, not for the working classes, because they're playing with that now, the working classes. Oh, we're middle class, but we go work. I'm talking about the lower classes that have fought in 2 world wars for this country, rebuilt this country on 2 occasions, and are now being treated worse than animals. Worse than the animals are treated in the abattoirs. And there was a genocide going on, and you've all been aware of it. You must be able to see it with our National Health Service. You must be able to see it with our social housing. You must see all the cheap labour coming in. You must see... I should imagine that everyone here is aware that paedophiles in very predominant positions, such as senior members of Parliament, we're talking about Elm Guesthouse here, and I know that Leon Britton, no one's named him yet, but I know that Leon Britton was messing about with children at Elm Guesthouse the same time as Gary Walker, who's a senior member of Sinn Féin. And I still believe, I've been saying it for a long, long time, and I think this is your governor. You're the governor, aren't you? Well, I've been saying it for a long time, that these paedophiles, very powerful paedophile rings, as the Member of Parliament Tom Watson stood up in the House of Commons and declared, there was a paedophile ring, very powerful, working in Margaret Thatcher's time. Well, it is still working. And I'm here to say that Leon Britton is one, so time to nick me, I think, Leon, if you're about, if you can get out of that chair. So there's Leon Britton. What else do you want? I've got a list of names. I've been talking to the chief witness of Operation Fernbridge. And I've now got names of 70 powerful people in this country and worldwide. And that is not just the entertainment industry. It is the media, and it is also the alternative media. So we got some shocks coming on that, I'm afraid, chaps. What else? Ask me some questions. Lou Collins. Come up here, Lou. This is Lou Collins.
Hello.
Good woman. What do you think, Lou, about the paedophile rings that are operating in this country? Can I just say, 4 years ago, I asked Nick Clegg, what are you going to do about institutional paedophile rings that are operating in this country now? Nick Clegg's reply to me was, I don't know what you mean by institutional paedophile rings. Do you know what I mean now, Nick? And don't forget, at 24, you was working in Leon Britton's private office, Nick. So you got a few stories. Oh my God, I've just put Nick Clegg on it as well. Now, we've got Kenneth Clark as well. We've got many, many people. This is your media. This media does not speak for the people. The same as the people's voice did not speak for the people. But it will. It will. And in every interview I'm doing now, I implore all victims to come forward now as witnesses. And let's get them. Don't be frightened of them. They've got nothing to be frightened. You've got nothing to be frightened of. You are the heroes. Come forward. That's it. And God bless all victims and survivors.
Come on, Cleggy.
Right. Let's gather first of all what we've got here.
Yeah, can we ask them to come in and monitor?
Around the other side, son. Let's get the dog in the photo. There's a dog already in the photo. Smiles on.
Thumbs up. Nick, 4 years ago I asked you what were you going to do about institutional paedophile operating in this country now. Your reply to me, Nick, was, I don't know what you mean by institutional paedophile rings. Do you understand what I was talking about 4 years ago now, Nick, and stay in my eyes?
About taxes, thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. Gotcha. What about Leon Britton? When are we going to get him out?
Go.
What about Ben Fellows?
And this is why I didn't want to build there.
Where are they?
Yeah, son.
Yeah. Mr. Alexander, you've just been involved in a budget based on a lie. Why isn't the Treasury reproducing currency in zero interest? Why aren't you prepared to do that? Are you not going to answer to me? It's very simple. Last week, the Bank of England acknowledged that we can print our own currency, and so that means austerity is based on an absolute lie, and you have fallen for that lie, and people are dying exponentially as an absolute consequence of your measures, and you will answer. The biggest seller and the biggest
Keep going, son. Keep going, son.
has ever witnessed. You're an absolute disgrace.
Traitor.
Will be held to account.
Traitors.
Absolute lies. Absolute lies. And that's what happens when you call our political representatives to account. They are lying about what has taken place. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying as a direct consequence of austerity measures when the Bank of England admitted last week in a paper that we can print currency at will. And he has just refused to discuss the Treasury printing its own currency, the Bradbury pound, but we will call him to account.
Hi Matthew, I'm not actually with the Deputy Prime Minister because he's had to abort our interview because we were here for a little photo op which the Lib Dems have organised to flag up their, what they say is their key tax measure, which is raising the lower threshold. However, so Mr Clegg was there and all his Lib Dem people were there, but the whole thing had to be aborted because well, a few protesters came along and spoiled the occasion. So Mr Clegg has gone over there. I don't know whether he'll be coming back in the near future, but that was one photo op which seemed to hit the buffers, shall we say. However, I suppose the one thing it does flag up is the tussle within the coalition to lay claim to the raising of the lower income tax threshold, because you talk to
institutional paedophile rings operating in this country now.
Sorry,
I just asked Nick Clegg.
Have to leave you.
I just asked Nick Clegg a question.
Stand aside.
Norman, we'll cut across you there, Norman.
Let me just give you a little bit of background. We noticed that Nick Clegg and Danny Alexander were going off to a separate area away from where all the press is, and so we decided to pursue them. And I think at one stage they thought we were part of the Lib Dem party, and they were all rallying around the Lib Dem flag, and they were all getting excited, and we've got my dog with us, and actually somebody even said, oh, get the dog in the picture. I was waiting for them to say, is there a baby for one of our MPs to kiss, which there's absolutely no way any of them would be kissing any of my babies. But anyway, so Bill and I ran towards them, didn't we, Bill?
Yeah, we did.
Pick it up from there. What did you do?
Well, they were holding a press conference and they were standing behind a banner. Nick Clegg was my target because nearly 4 years ago now, the last election, I asked Nick Clegg on Blackheath in front of about 200 people what was he going to do about institutional paedophile rings that are operating in this country now. Institutional paedophile rings that are operating in this country and this government now. What are you going to give for us? Never mind who, let them answer the question. They injected me, it's not reported, no one reported this story, Nick, and I can say to you, as it did David Dimbleby, what are you going to do about institutional and government paedophile rings working in this country? He said at the time, nearly 4 years ago, I don't understand what you mean by institutional paedophile rings. And so today, I jumped in front, asked him to hold my eyes, he looked at me, and then he said, I'm here to talk about taxes.
But what was also interesting over there was that there was press representatives from Sky and BBC and all the terrestrial channels, and they were very busy filming both Bill and I actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so after Bill had confronted Nick Clegg, and Nick Clegg I thought was actually going to faint, literally on the spot, and he started to back away while he's still kind of holding the Lib Dem banner, because you'd completely ruined their photo shoot, Bill. He thought he was going to have an easy ride like they always give them.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, yeah, exactly. So I'm very, very grateful. I think, you know, I'm really grateful for what Bill did.
A dossier detailing alleged child sex abuse involving prominent public figures 30 years ago is missing from Home Office files. The Home Secretary at the time, Leon Britton, admitted he received it, but says he passed it on to officials. Is it finally time for a parliamentary inquiry into historic child abuse? Good evening. The former Home Secretary, Leon Britton, has become embroiled in a row over what action he took and didn't take when he was given a dossier in the 1980s containing allegations of child sex abuse. The file was one of a number prepared by the late Tory MP Geoffrey Dickens, alleging that prominent public figures were involved in paedophilia. Leon Britton admitted today that he was given the dossier when Home Secretary and said that he passed it to officials for further examination. The dossier is now missing. Here's Jim Reid.
Police are now sure this man was a serial sex offender. To date, there have been 144 complaints against Cyril Smith. The Liberal MP escaped prosecution in his lifetime. But for some, there has long been the suspicion that wrongdoing went much further, that other members of the establishment could have been part of an organised ring involved in child abuse.
We know from my investigations into Cyril Smith that he was abusing boys up and down the country, involved in a network within London of abuse, and I think we need to name the other perpetrators that belong to that network.
30 years ago, this man was a campaigner, a thorn in the side of the establishment. The late Tory MP Geoffrey Dickens spent most of his career fighting child abuse. In 1981, he used parliamentary privilege to name the diplomat Sir Peter Harman, now dead, as a paedophile. 2 years later, we now know he handed 2 lengthy dossiers to the then Home Secretary Sir Leon Britton, documents that were thought to contain the names of suspected abusers in high office.
Those papers were delivered here to what was then the Home Office. It's the contents of those 2 bundles which are now at the centre of this complicated and murky story.
Sir Leon Britton leaving his London home today.
There's going to be a statement at lunchtime.
Last year, the Tory peer said he could not remember being handed the dossier in the first place. This afternoon, though, he released a statement saying, "As I recall, Geoffrey Dickens came to my room with a substantial bundle of papers. I asked my officials to look carefully and report back to me if they considered any action needed to be taken. I do not recall being contacted further about these matters." But later this afternoon, he clarified his position again. The Home Office said a review last year of old documents that went almost unnoticed at the time found a letter from Lord Britton that showed parts of the dossier were sent to prosecutors, though that review also found Lord Britton had acted appropriately in dealing with the allegations.
People will be concerned because Lord Britton is looking evasive. The comments he's put out today are contrary to what he said previously. He changed some of his statements during the course of today in response to things that the Home Office officials were saying. It doesn't move us any further forward. Perhaps there is a need for him to go before a select committee and answer questions.
In many ways, today's statements raise far more questions than answers. We still don't know exactly what kind of material was in these files. Where are they now? Do they even still exist? And what kind of actions, if any, did the police just round the corner in Scotland Yard take based on that material?
In newspaper interviews at the time, Geoffrey Dickens threatened to expose prominent figures if the Home Secretary failed to act. He told the Daily Express, "I've got 8 names of big people, really important names, public figures, and I'm going to expose them in Parliament. One of these people is a friend of mine, but you have to be merciless, protecting the young." For reasons that are not clear, Dickens never carried through with his threat, and the individuals, if his list ever existed, were never named. The Home Office said this evening that despite a search of the records, their copies of the original dossier are now missing.
The public will be astonished that documents from the 1980s, this isn't the 1880s, it's the 1980s, have not been retained. They will be astonished because the detail in those includes accusations against alleged paedophiles. They'll be astonished that they've been destroyed, and the public will conclude, and you can understand them concluding this, that they've been destroyed in an attempt to protect the names of the people that are named in the dossier. Who can blame the public for reaching that conclusion?
Much has been written about violence on picket lines. The 30-year rule of publishing Cabinet papers has now got to be examined, and the conduct of the Home Secretary in directing police and courts has now got to be disclosed. And by the way, the current expose of Sir Liam Britton, the then Home Secretary, with accusations of improper conduct with children, will not come as a surprise to striking minors of 1984. As many of them...
Mr Deputy Speaker, the honourable gentleman opposite has just made very profound, serious accusations against a noble lord. Is that in order?
No, but he's repeating something.
In fairness, I didn't hear it. I was talking to your whip. What I would say is it's up to each member to decide what they actually say, and they must make that decision. As I didn't hear it, I've got to say. Jimmy Hill, I've not.
The point I'm making, I'll just repeat it a wee bit. The rumours that Sir Liam Britton was involved with misconduct with children does not come news to minors who were on striking in 1984. Because when minors were going up into the dock in magistrates' courts, we were aware and minors were declaring... No, I won't give way. No, I won't give way. No, I'm not going to give way. I'll give way when I finish my point. The point is, minors were saying in the docks and all the magistrates' courts throughout the strike that they objected to the instructions coming from the Home Secretary when there was reports about child abuse being linked with that same Home Secretary.
Order. I think it is up to each member. We've got to be very careful on what we said, and we must consider what we are saying and what the implications are. Jimmy Hill.
I accept obviously what you say, Mr Deputy Speaker, but I'm just repeating what I'm reading in the papers. But no.
Order. Time's up.
Now, if there is not a middle ground between the alternative media and the national media, then the national media will be destroyed by us. End of story. End of story. That is it. That what they're doing, the national media at the moment, they're trawling the internet, and they're looking at people like myself, you know, alternative media. They're looking at our stories, they're plagiarising the stories and sanitising them, and they think that's the end of it. Shut up, end of it. You know?